This is really a public service announcement. This is to give you some awareness of a problem that's happening that you might be personally going through yourself, or you may know of someone who's going through it. And it really is, it's in regards to depression, but more specifically, it's about how often women and men are misdiagnosed with depression. This was actually something that was enlightening to me as well. I'd been doing clinical social work and therapy for years, and because I was in that industry, it wasn't surprising that so many people were coming to me with issues and symptoms of depression. It wasn't until I got in my private practice and started working with women in one-on-one coaching, and then also doing workshops, and then just in having conversations with people who would connect with me through whether it was Facebook or some type of social media, and expressed to me that they were really frustrated because they were told that they had depression, and they were told they needed medication, and they were really uncomfortable with the idea of taking medication. And then some had been on medication for years and really wanted to get off, and had been really scared to try to wean themselves off the medication because of the horror stories that they were being told by their doctors of how difficult that can be. And then it really hit me because this was such a personal issue that I could relate to because of my own experience and my own misdiagnosis that I had received years and years ago. And so today I wanted to not only share this on a podcast, but I wanted to make a video about it as well, because I want to share my personal story with you and how I got to this place of being able to help other women and men identify the real cause of their symptoms and their feelings, rather than just jumping to what traditional medicine often uses as this kind of catch-all, which is depression. So years ago, I was working a really stressful job and loved my job and had considered myself to be really active and physically fit, and I was eating well, so I thought I had a pretty good balance going on. But then my body started to tell me otherwise. I was having all type of physical symptoms from my body letting me know that something was not okay. It originally started with mood swings, irritability, all of those things I just kind of excused away. Then I started getting these chronic rashes and hives. They would actually leave, I would get scarring from them, like almost like I had been burned. They were pretty severe. And then I also started to experience joint pain, inflammation. I started getting headaches, and these things were not characteristic of me. I was generally a healthy person, never really required any kind of medication, let alone medical care. So I decided I was going to go see my primary care physician and try to figure out what was going on. And no one really knew. There were all kind of guesses. Some said lupus, some said an autoimmune disorder. One doctor I went and saw told me it was early arthritis. And none of that sounded right to me. It all sounded, it just didn't sound right, and it didn't feel right. And no matter what type of treatment they gave me, it never seemed to work. It got so severe and so bad. I actually started having chest pains, and I turned to hardcore medicine, which is something that's not typical of me. And I started taking steroids, and then I started to do the steroidal shots to really help me with the pain and do pain management. And if you've never had one of those, it's actually worse than the original pain that you had before you go to the doctor. But it gave me some temporary relief, which allowed me to kind of live my life and do my job. So that was going on for a while, and then when I was on the steroids, I actually stopped sleeping. I got insomnia. It also decreased my appetite significantly. I really just kind of stopped eating. I stopped having a desire to eat. And that's when the people around me knew something was really wrong. Like, oh, Nicole's not eating, there's a problem. And I knew that something was really wrong, and I was just not, I had no clarity. I couldn't focus, I couldn't think straight. So I went to go see a specialist. This person came highly recommended, had a really extensive work experience in dealing with women and health issues. So I went to this doctor, and I had this journal just of all of my medical history and my symptoms, and went in there completely prepared. I was going to read everything to him, and we were going to go over my notes, and we were going to discuss this. I think he listened to me for about 5, maybe 10 minutes, and proceeded to turn around to the desk and type some notes in, and then printed me out a prescription for an antidepressant. And he said that what it sounded like is that I was really just overwhelmed with my job and the stress from that, and it was causing me to have some very negative feelings about life in general. And I remember thinking, I'm so tired. This is such an exhausting process. And I remember just thinking, I've gone through all this only to be told that I'm depressed. Hell yes, I'm depressed. I haven't slept in 7 days. I'm not eating. Who wouldn't be depressed? So I got angry. I got really angry. And I remember taking the prescription, balling it up, and just throwing it to the side of the little table. And I just got up and got dressed, and I walked out, not even looking behind me. And that minute that I left, I became determined to figure out what was going on with me. And I didn't feel like I needed a MD behind my name to understand my own body. So I started researching, and I started studying, and I actually became a student of holistic health and nutrition. And one of the things that I discovered was this practice of naturopathy. And it was this practice of physicians practicing naturopathic medicine. And I loved the premise behind it, which was to really treat the whole patient and not just the symptoms. So it intrigued me enough to research and find someone locally that I could go see. And I went and I met with this doctor, and she spent an entire hour with me the first visit. She left. When I left there, she gave me homework. We had a plan of action. And in the beginning, it was all just about assessing what was going on with my body and my internal systems and how they were functioning. And if there were some areas where things were not working properly, we had to try to determine whether or not there was some deficiency that was causing it. She was incredibly thorough. And of course I had to pay for this service out of pocket. This was not something that was covered by health insurance. But to me, the investment in my health was totally worth it. So I worked with her for a good 2 or 3 months, and by in that time frame, I not only knew exactly what was going on with my body, but with her help, I knew exactly how to repair the damage. And I proceeded to change my lifestyle in order to create a more healthy environment, not only just my external environment, but also just internally, my internal health. And I worked very hard those first 3 months to really just get everything back to a level of where it was functioning properly. And then after that, it all became about maintenance. And what I realized is that as soon as everything came into alignment, my digestive tract was working, and I was eliminating, and I was also absorbing nutrients because I started to give my body what it needed. And I was exercising, and I was sweating, and I was releasing toxins. Once all of these things started to happen as they should, as the body is intended to work, I started sleeping like a baby. I never had another rash or hive. The joint pain, gone. The headaches, gone. The mood swings and irritability, I'd love to say they completely left, but they greatly reduced. What I had to end up doing was recognizing that there was a hormonal imbalance that was actually really kind of the root cause of my mood swings and my irritability, and just the really, I had some very prominent PMS symptoms that, month to month to month, they showed up, and it was the same thing. So the pattern was not hard to recognize. It just was, I really had never worked with somebody who understood how the body works and knew how to treat that properly without medication or some synthetic chemical like birth control. And I mean the pill, not just any birth control, but specifically the pill, because that is a synthetic chemical that we put in our bodies. So when I was able to, what happened is once my system got imbalanced, the hormone imbalance became really clear. Like we were able to hone in on that and then really focus on that. And within, again, a matter of a couple of months, completely regulated my system and my cycle. And so was in a position where I was better able to manage my moods, and then I can tell when something was off, and I knew exactly what to do. Like, okay, I need to up my evening primrose, or let me drink some red raspberry tea. It was as if I had learned the tools to not only read the indicators that my body was trying to send to me and to show me, but then because of the help that I sought out and then how that person educated me, I was able to self-treat and practice self-care. And so I love to be able to share that story with you. I know that there are so many out there that can relate to this. And it's why I'm passionate in working with people to just understand and know that conventional medicine is not the end all. It doesn't have all the answers. I think it's fantastic, and it is so amazing when it comes to emergency medicine what conventional medicine can do for us. Outside of that, it really only practices treating symptoms, and it does not practice treating the cause of our conditions and our ailments and our illnesses and our disease. And that's what I'm about. So if you're listening to this and watching this and that's what you're about as well, I want you to stay with us on this journey, because that's what we're going to be talking about more in depth, is how to just become more accountable for your own health, how to take control of your own health, to what are the resources and tools that you'll need to be able to do that. And a lot of that is information based. We're going to be talking about a lot of the things that you just need to know in order to be directed in the right way and to start being able to read your body a little bit better. And 3 is just being empowered to seek out your options, not being so invested in getting your information from just one place, because we're so dependent on doctors, and conventional medicine is our only source and the only place that we can go to get answers, and that's not the case. And that really is something that's only been around for a short period of time. If we look, back through history, really what we call now alternative medicine has been around for thousands of years, and the use of herbs and food to heal has been practiced since the beginning of time. So this is not anything new. This is not quackery, as some people like to call it. It's just how life was intended to be.